Good evening and welcome to my Facebook Live tonight. Sorry, I'm probably a little bit late. Um, Let me just put this camera onto me. I see that Deborah's on here watching already. Welcome, and I hope you've had a lovely day. Um, Tonight we're going to have a little bit of a play with Just Add Ink challenge, which is due, I think, tomorrow sometime. So I'm going to have to make this card and then quickly photograph it and vlog it tomorrow if I'm going to get it up. But I like, for you guys to see how, I suppose as my son would put it, my thought processes work when I come to doing some challenges. And also to, it's really good to be able to share them and get your input on what you think. Hi, Rose. How are you? You've had a great day, Deborah. That's great. Hi, Glenda. Thanks for joining. Okay, so I'm now going to turn my camera back over again and let's get started, because I can't promise this one is going to be as quick as what last week's one was. Okay, so what I'm playing with today is the Gorgeously Made bundle, and with that, of course, is the Masterfully Made Designer Series paper, which I just love. I love the colours in it. I love the brightness that is in this suite, and it's just taken me. I've only not long got the stamp set. I bought the Designer Series paper a little while ago with the special that we had recently, but I've only just in the last few weeks received the Gorgeously Made bundle to go with it. So I thought, we're not going to be using a lot of the stamp set. It's going to be more paper, but I thought this is just going to be a really good way just to have a bit of a play. So I've gone through and I've pulled out a few bits and pieces. I printed off the challenge so we can see what it is. I've already written down the colours and everything I'm using. I will put all this on my blog, whether this ends up in the challenge or not. It'll still be up on my blog for you to see it. Hi, Joan. How are you? So this is the challenge. So we've got our card base. We've got a smaller piece of cardstock or Designer Series paper in the middle. We've got two circles, and then we've got our sentiment piece. So it's really quite simple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to treat this back piece here as my card base. And I'm going to make this piece here a piece of Designer Series paper. At the moment, I'm thinking these two pieces here are going to be vellum. And I'm going to add some more elements on that with some die cuts from the bundle. The sentiment, I'm going to use a happy birthday sentiment, and that is going to be from, let me just grab the stamp set here so you can see where I've grabbed it from. It's from the Something Fancy. I just really like the happy birthday. So I'm going to use that particular stamp from that set there for my sentiment. Now I'm tossing up whether I might do a bit of stamping on my vellum. So I've got my heat gun there set up ready to go, just so then I can dry off the ink, because with vellum, the ink will tend to sit on the surface, and I've done a little bit of a play here, and I've stamped the words here. You just have to really let it dry before we cut this out. So, or I'll cut it out first and then stamp it. So that's my idea for the vellum, just to give a little bit of extra texture. Of course, you could do something if you want to add texture. You could add it through embossing folder, but because our circles and the size of the circle I decided to go for, and I'm using the deckled edge circles, and I've got two of them here, and I think that was the big one. Let me see, where have I put the little one? It's amongst here somewhere. There we are. It's this one here, and the diameter of this one is only about 5 centimeters, so it's actually quite small. So I think if I used a embossing folder on that, it could be a little bit too much. So we'll see how we go. I just want to add a little bit of something to it. The designer series paper I've chosen to use is this one, but I'm not quite sure yet whether I'm going to use this bottom section or the top section. I'm sort of thinking maybe going somewhere in the middle range of that, because I do love the idea of the printing on the designer series paper, but I do love these colors and I want to pick up a lot of these colors as much as possible. As I said, I've got a card base and I haven't decided yet whether my card base is going to be in the Pretty Peacock or the Berry Burst. I am going to possibly matte this piece of designer series paper. I love matting things. I don't do it all the time, but I do it quite a bit. And when you matte something, it tends to lift it. So you're picking one of the colors out of this and you're highlighting it and lifting it. So I'm not quite sure yet whether I'll do this in Berry Burst and then matte that in the Evening Evergreen, but the Evening Evergreen tends to dull it a little bit. So whether I do my base in that and then use the Berry Burst, which tends to add a little bit more life. And then I'm going to add a few extra elements with die cutting, and I'm going to use for those elements some Night of Navy and some Soft Succulent, and we're going to use the die cuts from that bundle, which are these two here, to add a few extra elements. I've also pulled out let me just see if I can bring this back. I'm sorry, guys, but I've just lost my camera. Won't be one moment. The internet might be playing up a little bit. Whoops, bear with me. As I would say, please chat amongst yourselves. Just makes our day interesting when things like this happen, doesn't it? So I hope you can all hear me okay, because I've turned on my mic. And let's see how we go. Let me just... Okay, have you got me back again? Can you see me? Let's just make this a full page. So there we go. That's a lot better. Fingers crossed, toes crossed, that doesn't happen again. Easy, quick fix. Okay, so where was I up to? Yeah, I'm thinking at the moment to do my card base, I think, in the Pretty Peacock and then do my matting in the Berry Burst. And that too will allow me to, if I print on my vellum, where's my little test piece? Then that will actually pop the words on there as well. Thanks, Glenda. I'm glad you can see me and hear me, Deborah. I hate it when things like that happen. But anyway, it's life. It's being on live. And I'm not going to let anything stress me today. Okay, so let's get started with this card. So if I'm going to do pop all this to one side. And let's start by actually cutting because I really haven't done anything for this except just pull out a few bits and pieces. Just pulled in a few ideas and then go for it. So I'm going to score this first, because I usually like to score this right across. Makes it so much quicker, and then I've got a piece ready for another card. So I'm scoring that at 14.9, and then I'm going to cut it, turn it around, and I'm going to cut it at 10.5, which is half my sheet of cardstock. So whether you're using the letter size or you're using A4, it's just a 10th fold and half a sheet of cardstock. So I'm just going to pop that to one side. because that's the piece we don't need. And I'm going to have a look at the designer series paper. Now, I sort of had a bit of an idea of what measurements I want to use. So, as I said before, I will put my measurements on my blog, but I'm thinking of using around about making this panel here in my designer series paper about 3 centimeters narrow. So it's going to be about 1.5 on each side. This piece here is not sitting in the middle, so I can sort of play with it a little bit. So what I might do is start off by actually cutting this down to about 8.5, because I'd rather make it bigger. So we're going to go 8.5 width, which is about 1 centimeter bigger than what I want, until we work out what I want to do. I've always got my cardstock down here if I need to cut another piece. So I want to cut that size, and then I want to go 11.9, which is 3 centimeters in the other direction. Now, do I want to have, so 11.9 is about there. So that's going to cut around about there, and I'm going to lose a lot of this beautiful green here at the bottom. I don't think I want to lose that much. So I'm going to cut some of this blue off the top, but I don't want to cut all of it because I am using the Night of Navy, so I want it to relate back. So I might just cut that much off. It's always better off cutting a little bit off at a time than cutting off too much. 11.9. That's going to cut it there. I might just take a tiny bit more off. Not much. So I've still got a bit of that blue at the top. But now I'm getting some of that green in there. So 11.9, that's 3 centimeters smaller than my card base. I might just take that up to, let's just have a look. So here's our card base. And that's going to go on there. Yeah, that's definitely way too big. So let's go back to our 7.5. And I think I'm going to cut that off there. I can keep that piece because I can use that on the inside of my card. Don't think I want to go any smaller than 7.5, though I might make it a little bit smaller by a few millimeters because my card base might end up being these measurements. But that's okay. It just gives me a bit of an idea. So if that's the case, then I do want to go 11.9. I might just take a bit more because there is quite a bit of Night of Navy in there. I just want to pick up those greens because I'm using those nice soft colours. I'm going to be vicious. I'm actually want to cut that piece off. I think I'm going to just have to be, because I do want a lot of that green coming in there. So that's going to go on the front of our card there. So what I'm going to do, I'm probably doing this a little bit back to front, but this is generally how I think. So we want 11.9. By 7.5. I like to keep my borders sort of fairly even all the way around. Now I'm just going to cut this down a little bit because I only want to have a little bit. So I'm going to cut 3 mil off. So I'm going to cut this back to 7.2. It's only just a little bit off. And I'm going to take this off the bottom. So 11.9 minus 3. 1, 2, 3. So I'm just going to take another 3 mil off the bottom of that. So that's going to leave me a border of 1.5 mil all the way around. So that's going to go on there like that, and then that's going to go just like that. We could even add some words on this piece here as well, or instead of. So we'll keep that as an idea, and that's adding the text stamp from the stamp set onto our card base, just to add a little bit of texture to our card base, because we've got a lot of that texture also in this DSP as well. So that's that piece. So that's all right. So let's get rid of this for the moment. And let's grab our vellum. And we're going to cut 2 of the circles in our vellum. So let's grab that smaller die here. As I said, it's about 5 centimeters on diameter on the inside. I don't know whether you guys have got these beveled circle dies from the mini catalogue as yet. I mean, if you're not a Stampin' Up demonstrator, you won't have them, but oh gee, I love them. And there are so many sizes in there. Okay, what's someone on here who says they're just a Facebook user? If you'd like to leave your comment with your name in it, it'd be great. Then I can say hello to you. So there's one of those. And we need one more because we need 2 circles. So there's our vellum, which I'll just pop over there out of the road. There's our circles cut. Now the other pieces I need to cut are pieces out of the Night of Navy and Soft Succulent. So I'm going to do this piece here and use this die for my Soft Succulent piece. Because there's our die cut piece there, and there's some pieces there we can pop out, which I will do a little bit later on before we put it all together. And then the other piece I'm going to use for this die here. Now, I've never used these dies before, so I think this one's going to be quite an intricate leaf, which I'm going to love because I love the intricate dies. And for the moment, that's the die cutting. We've got one more piece of die cut, but that's our sentiment. I won't do that until after we've stamped it. So let's just see if I can pop this piece out. Get rid of that piece. And remove all these little bits. Whoops, that little bit has to come out. Isn't it a beautiful piece? And you've got these tiny little cuts here, and I suppose if you wanted to, you go through and just lift all of those a little bit. There's another one there that has to come out. But that's nice. And then I'm just going to pop these out. I know some people like to leave some of these in. I generally like to take them out. That's just me. There are some people that are pedantic about it, and I'm one of them. But of course, sometimes you miss a couple, so I think I've got all of that, and they're going to go across the two circles like that. So let's see how this all works. Excuse me. Let me just grab a drink of water. I've still got this hay fever, so it's just really getting to me at the moment. Okay. Now, I do have to find a piece of basic white for our card insert. That's the one thing I have forgotten. So, going by our picture here, what we're going to have is our designer series paper on there, and it's going to sit just a little bit to one side. Hopefully these circles are going to be about the right shape. We're going to have a circle there, another circle there. Now I'm just looking at this and I'm just thinking I might not stamp on these circles, because what could happen is that's going to go across and you're not going to see it. So maybe I need to go bigger circles, because they're going to get completely lost. That was one of my concerns. So I do have a bigger one here, and I do have some more vellum. And I'll keep those other circle vellum pieces for another piece, and let's cut the bigger size out. Don't want to go any bigger than that, than this circle here. This circle here is the next size up. So it's about a 6 centimeter diameter. Yeah, it would make a good sympathy card as well. I've got a sister in England, and this card's I'm thinking of sending this to her for her birthday, which is only in a few days' time. So it probably will end up being more of a belated birthday than a. And I'm going to cheat here. I'm going to fold my vellum in half. Being vellum, it is a lot thinner. And I'm going to cut two circles out at once. Probably would use less vellum by cutting it one at a time, but this will just save on time. Okay, so let's just bring this back in. Take those pieces off. I mean, we only need to add one of those pieces if need be. But at the moment, I'm just sort of thinking two. So we've got one piece there. And we don't even have to have these circles the same size. We could have them at different sizes. I might glue these two pieces together because they're definite together, and that'll make things a little bit easier for me rather than things slipping around. So I've got that on there. The courier pigeon who's taking your card better get his wings into gear. Yeah, it is going to be late, Jenny. But at least she will get it. I'll send her I'll send her an email anyway just to wish her a happy birthday, so it'll just be a nice surprise for her to get this in the mail at a little bit later date. So she's coming out here to Australia next year, which is going to be lovely. My parents are quite excited about that. So as I said, we don't need to use 2 of the same circle because that's covering up quite a bit. We could just use one big one, one small one. And remembering it got a sentiment which is going to be around about this size is going to fit across there like that. So here I am worrying about all this green and everything I've got in there, and I'm going to lose most of it, but you will see it through the vellum, I hope. So if we can put that piece across there. Whoops. Don't know. Not quite sure whether this is starting to look a little bit too busy. Not quite sure. Let's just stamp our sentiment, and then at least we can get a bit of an idea. So I've got some basic white here, and I thought I'd do the sentiment in Berry Burst. We could just use one of those leaf pieces. We don't have to use both of them. Anyone got some ideas? Because I'm quite happy to take on board. So there's my happy birthday, just in Berry Burst. And this will pick up a little bit on that white that's already in the card because I think it needed a little bit of a lift. We'll bring this back in. Looks okay, although the lighter sprig is lost. Yeah, it does seem to be a little bit lost, doesn't it? The other colour that I could do that sprig in is the Purple Posy. Because that's in there as well. And maybe that lighter colour. Okay, let's grab a piece of what we've got our cut and emboss machine here. So this is, no, that's Bubble Bar, wrong one. Fresh Freesia was the other colour that's in it, not Purple Posy. Do we have Purple Posy anymore? Maybe that's one of the discontinued ones. I can't remember. Okay, that's going to fit through there. Just. Yeah, no Purple Posy now. That's what I thought. It was one of those colours I really liked. But I like this one too. Okay. So I did pull this one out and then I put it back. Okay, then. So I'm using the die from that bundle. Okay, let's take this piece off. That brings a bit of life to it, doesn't it? Would it also have been better to do the bigger piece in that or leave it in the Night of Navy? I quite like the Night of Navy, though. And that's going to go across there. And the only other thing I was thinking of doing is maybe putting a piece of linen thread underneath, because it is very earthy. Okay, what do you think? You like that? Lay the sentiment over the card before you stick the fresh freezer on. Yeah. But going by, that's sort of basically where it's going to sit, like that somehow. Okay, so should we put a bit of extra texture on our card base by putting some of these words down? Don't need too many of them. It's not going to hurt because I'll do Pretty Peacock on Pretty Peacock, so it'll actually blend into itself. Looks like my ink pad needs a bit of tender loving care. Okay then, so might leave that folded. Don't know which way is the right way up. I think that way is the right way up. So just turn it around the opposite way and just stamp this off just in different places around the edge. One more. Most of that's going to get covered up. Your 8-month-old pup is playing and growling. Lovely. Yeah, the only way I know how to fix that, I have heard if you get a spoon, and I've just kept some old plastic spoons and I just keep rewashing them because now you can't buy them. And even just the back of a metal spoon, but you want to use the back of your spoon and just rub that ink around and see if that helps. I did read a while back when we had a few issues with this that could help fix it. I mean, all sorts of people had different ideas. I don't know. This is a new ink pad because I'm sure this is a new one. Because I already had I bought the whole lot of ink pads when the new colours came out at the beginning of the catalogue. Oh no, this might be an older one. I might have the new one over there. So I should get it out and have a look. So this one here could be a couple of years old. I'm not quite sure what causes it. I don't think we've ever really got a good answer, but yeah, I think just spreading that ink around is probably the best way. I know with my old Mango Melody, it went really bad, and I washed all the ink out of the ink pad and then re-inked it up, but that was extreme. So it's not something I would sort of suggest to do unless you're really desperate. Yeah, there is a lifespan, Lisa, on your ink pads. So even though we've got re-inkers to re-ink them up, I would probably suggest if it's a couple of years old that maybe you might need to replace it. I know for a long time, well, I've been in Stampin' Up for probably almost, I can't remember, it's 10, 15 years or something. Long time. And when I first started, I always thought, oh, yeah, the ink pads will last forever and ever. But there was something I read in the last 6 months that said, no, there is a lifespan on them. So, yeah, if it is a few years old and you're having a lot of issues with it, then maybe it might be a case of replace the ink pad that's doing it. So, yeah, it could be just an age thing. You're in 6 years in. Where are you getting these card challenges? This one is Just Add Ink. So if you type in Just Add Ink into Google, it will come up. I'm just trying to think. If you actually type in Just Add Ink Blogspot, so Just Add Ink blogspot.com.au, and that's that one. The other one I like to do is from, now I was trying to think who it's from. Oh, golly, they're on my blog anyway. There's quite a few. I can post it in the comments for you if you like doing challenges. I love doing challenges just because it just keeps me fresh all the time. It takes me out of my comfort zone. I'm in a group which we do a challenge every month and we challenge each other. It's called Let's Craft Together. It was started by 3 girls, myself included, from Australian girls from the design group we were in, which I've now moved on from. And we've now invited quite a few other demonstrators to join this group. But what we do is we challenge each other. So every month we set each other a challenge and then we do a blog hop on it. So that's coming up. And I find because other people are setting challenges, it's not necessarily something that you might do yourself. So it takes me out of my comfort zone and enables me to sort of challenge myself. Otherwise, I think you can get in a rut of just doing the same style over and over again. So I love challenges, and the challenges we do, some of them are colour challenges, some of them are like this, where it's a sketch challenge. But there's a lot of sketch challenges in that. If you even go into Pinterest and type into Pinterest card making challenges, you'll probably find a lot in there. Now, Finn is mounting our 10-year-old dog. Oh, Jenny, do we need to know this? It's getting a little bit... Oh, dear. We used to have a dog many, many years ago. And, gee, he was funny. He was a lovely old thing. But dogs are great. Pets are great. But thank you. Creativity abounds. Yeah. I'm not on Creativity Abounds anymore. I decided to, because I was on it for about 3 years or something. And even tries it on the cat. Okay. Yeah, decided this year that I wanted to sort of get in and do a few more things. I just didn't have time. I found that I had to sort of say, for a moment, I'm going to take a break from a few things. So I've left Creativity Abounds, but the girls, there's Maswari, Tracy, myself, and Kylie. We were on Creativity Abounds, and then we started up Let's Craft Together, which is the group where we challenge each other with a monthly blog hop. Kylie's taking a break from that at the moment, and then so we've asked quite a few other people to join us. So the 4th of every month on my blog, you will find Let's Craft Together blog hop, and we're all Australian demonstrators. quite a few you would know their names. Look, I mean, I'm terrible with names, so I know there's Kayla. Um, who are some of the others? There's quite a few. There's about 15 or 16 of us now on that group anyway. So head over to my blog, which is butterfliesandbows.com, around about the 4th of the month, and have a look at the challenge. So I will say that I have played with my chooks again for that challenge. Maswari set that challenge. It was, really took me out of my comfort zone. So really made me think. So that's why I do challenges. That's why I like challenges. So yeah. Anyway, let's keep going with this card. So we've stamped that. We're going to pop that onto there. So we've just got a little bit of interest in the background. I don't know whether you can actually see that, but I've just added just that little bit extra on there. And now we're going to pop some of these on. So our question is, so I've got a big circle, I've got a little circle. They can go off the page a little bit. I think what I'm going to do is actually glue this piece down because I think we've got it right. I'm not going to put this up on dimensionals because I'm going to, or will I? Will I put it on dimensionals? Because I was just thinking I'm going to have the happy birthday on dimensionals, but I won't have those and I won't have that. Yes, I will set that up on dimensionals. I think it might be nice to give that a bit of, and I'm going to grab my black ones. Don't use these enough, and being a dark base, we can use these. Put plenty of those in. Oh, you might see me again one day on Creativity Abounds. I haven't sort of disappeared completely. It's just at the moment, I just found sort of trying to do the stamp camps and everything was just a little bit, I was putting myself under a lot of pressure because my husband lost his job around about the same time as COVID. And so I really sort of had to really do a lot more sewing and just found it quite stressful. And I don't cope with a lot of stress. So I was giving myself a lot of pressure to do things. And I just wasn't coping within myself. So that's one of the reasons why I sort of had to sort of say, okay, I've got to let a few things go. But it meant that I've been able to do an extra live. My husband now has told me he's started up his own business. So he's now going out and doing handyman work. He's getting quite a bit of work doing that. So it's been really good in the fact that I now don't need to probably do so much with the sewing. But still, I'm trying to do a few more things. Like I'd stopped almost doing challenges and so forth. So now I'm sort of just playing with challenges and trying to enjoy my card making again. Okay, so I think that's the way it's going to look. Now we want to put a bit of adhesive on the back of our vellum, and I'm going to use probably a little bit of seal. And I'm only going to put it in this section just in here because you've got to be very careful when you're using adhesive on the back of your vellum because you don't want it to show through. You want to be able to put it in a spot where it is going to be hidden. Now I'm using my seal here because I find that the seal, I mean, you can see it a little bit, but it's not so bad when you've got other things placed on top of it. But a good places to put your adhesive is if you're putting flowers or something on your vellum, then you put it underneath your vellum. If you're putting sentiments on your vellum, you'd put it underneath your sentiments. Even when you're putting on things like your elements, like your pearls, your butterflies, any of those sort of elements, you can hide a little bit of glue or something like that underneath those, so it just doesn't stand out. I've just put a little bit of adhesive in this section here, and I sometimes will come back later on with a glue dot and just slip a glue dot underneath these areas, which will lift if I feel that it needs a little bit extra adhesive on there. Now I'm just having a look here just to see if there's any more comments or anything. So I think we're going to pop that onto there, and that's going to be popped on with a little bit of multi-purpose glue. I do miss everybody from Creativity Abounds because it was good and I enjoyed it when I was in it. But yeah. So I'm just putting a few little dots of adhesive on there. And that's just going to go on there. And I'm just going to hold that down for a second. Or grab a block. Pop that on top just to hold that down to let that adhere. And I'm going to do the same with this. Now, of course, you could put adhesive all over everything if you wanted to. I like just to put a few every now and then because I like to have the lift in my cardstock. Just adds that little bit of lightness rather than having everything plastered down. I'm going to pop that one at a slightly different angle. Now this is where we might put a little bit of linen thread. Didn't want to go white because it's we're going to have our white in the sentiment, but I just thought maybe a little bit of linen thread in here, the bow. This is a new roll, so I'm just running my finger along that linen thread quite a few times just to get rid of some of those kinks in there. And just wondering whether I'll do a single bow or a double. Might need to get a few more kinks out of that. I hope you're all still there. I'm not hearing it or seeing any comments, so I'm hoping that everyone is still okay. I haven't lost you yet. Now I'm going to rub this around my fingers a couple of times just want a double bow, and I'm going to wrap it around my finger twice there. Tuck that under through there. See if this works for me. Is that going to work? I need to tie that off a bit more, I think. Oops. Let me try that again. Sort of a little bit fiddly doing a bow this way, but I'll show you another way, actually. I'm just going to take my linen thread and double it up. Hi, Anne. How are you? So I've just got some linen thread here. I'm just going to do a big bow, but I want a double bow. So I've just... It's probably the easiest way just to do a double bow. Pull that tight. Just trim off those tails there a little bit. Thinking of just popping that across there like that. So let me grab a glue dot. Oh, is this your puppy? Oh, that's no good. Or is it your older dog has got this stage 3 heart failure? Well, I hope it's your dog we're talking about. Daisy is the older girl. Oh, that's no good. It's hard when your animals get sick like that. It's like, how much do you do? I mean, you like to do anything and everything for them. We lost our cat earlier in the year, and it just got to the point that I was saying to my husband, look, if he gets much sicker, I'm just going to have to put him down. But yeah, he ended up going naturally, which was good because we didn't have to make that decision then. Okay, those to go down that way. I'm going to add some more dimensionals on the back of this one. This time I'm going to use some white. Quite enjoying these Tuesday nights with everybody, so I hope everybody else is enjoying them. It's always good to create and chat with everybody, and I hope you guys are enjoying spending some time with me in my craft room. So there's our card. So the only thing I need to do now, because I didn't cut this earlier, let me just have a look, see if I've got some pieces. This is all my cardstock that I got, and I've got a big piece of white there. And cut this down to 10 by 14.4. For our card insert piece to go inside our card, so we've got somewhere to write. Now, I did have a piece of cardstock here, designer series paper. It's only a little bit, but that's okay. And I'm just going to pop a little bit of glue right along that edge. I only need a tiny weeny little bit because you don't want it to ooze too much. And then I'm going to pop that on top of that. And then we can trim that back. Because what we could have done too is, I don't know how this is going to work because I've already got that on there, but let's see how I go. Let me grab a piece of Post-it note. Just cover that up there. I just want to bring that in just a little bit though. Just be careful. Should have done this before I glued that piece down. Make sure I've got the right way up again. And I'm going to stamp off just to lighten it up. Just to put a little bit of interest on there. Let's just take that off. And is there something else we can add to this? Now that's the wrong colour, but let's have a look. Where's that dye? Yeah, our cat was 20 years old, 21 years old when we lost it. So they can live a long time, these cats, these pets. Dogs, not so much, I don't think. Just trying to squish that in there. We could have planned this a little bit better, but that's okay. Get it out of the scrap piece there. Yeah, he was a beautiful cat. He was part Maine Coon. He was my $20 cat. Maine Coons can be very expensive, but he wasn't. Okay. That piece didn't cut well off there. That's okay because it's going to probably get cut down a bit anyway. Take all those little bits out. Oh, one more. I just glue that on there and then we can trim this back a bit. You might need to put a bit extra glue on this piece because you don't necessarily want this sitting up. but I'm not putting a huge amount of glue in there. Just with those words underneath, just gives it a little bit of a, and even though that's going over the edge but just a tiny weeny little bit, I'm not worrying about trimming those back, because then this will sit inside my card. So I'm just going to turn that over and just give that a little bit of a rub just to make sure that glue is adhering. So there's the inside of our card, and there's the outside. Now, of course, you could add a little bit extra bling if you wanted to on this. Wondering, could use those because it is the same color. So if we wanted to, add a few small ones. One there. Oops, it's a little bit too close to the edge, I think. I think I might put one about there. So we've got 1, 2, and then one over here, just to form that triangle. Just a little bit. I don't think needs any more than that. So those elements I've just used are the tinsel gems, the 3-pack. There's a 3-pack and there's a 4-pack in the tinsel gems. So there we are. So I hope you've enjoyed creating this card with me, because I by all means wouldn't have been able to do it all on my own. You've been a lot of help in helping me in the right direction, which is great. And as I said before, I hope you are enjoying my lives on a Tuesday night, and I hope you can also join me on Fridays, which is more during the day at 1 o'clock Australian time. So I've had a lot of fun with that. So now all I have to do is photograph that tomorrow morning and try to get it up on my blog as quickly as I possibly can. So what I'll try to do tomorrow is for the person who asked about where I find these challenges, I'll add some of the names of the challenges, but by all means, please go and have a look at Just Add Ink. So their website is Just Add Ink blogspot.com.au. So really, yeah, they have a challenge every week, and if you can post it on Instagram, I think, or on Facebook. Probably more recommended posting it onto something like a blog, and then you can enter it, and they pick a winner each week. I've won a couple of them. It's an honour to win them, but it's not the be all end all. It's just getting in and having fun and letting the challenge stretch you and stretch what you can create, and looking at things a little bit differently, trying to get out of that box, because I think sometimes we get into that designer rut and we lose our mojo and whatnot else, and this is how I keep mine going. So again, thank you for joining me tonight. I hope you've enjoyed it. This has been a fun card to make, and I'm really happy with the way it's turned out. So have a lovely week. If I don't see you on Friday, I'll see you next week. Tuesday at the same time. So thank you again very much for joining me tonight. Have a lovely evening. Bye for now.